I saw some of you are here for the first time. I saw quite many hands. Others are here for the second, third, or maybe you've been here many times. And oftentimes in these meetups, when we as designers like meet together and talk about our discipline and other things, we go in depth, right? We go in depth into our field and we explore different frameworks. And same as I think Natalia will do today, exploring specific things in the UX field. I'm very looking forward to that. But what I want to share with you today and also discuss with you today, we'll have that time for that at the end. And I want to argue that design sprints are cool, no problem with them, but UX as a discipline really is a marathon. And I want to share some tips with you on how you can win it. As a designer or developer, product person, this is something that I hope will take you like in a broader, like take you to understanding yourself in a broader sense, not going deep into your discipline, but like understanding your discipline and in the sense of the company, the industry you're working in, and maybe even in the world. So let's jump right in. Where do I come from? I come from a company called UXDA. So we are a financial-focused UX design agency. We worked specifically with the financial industry, and our absolute mission is to humanize finance globally. Our team actually is located here in Riga, all of us, but our kind of work is and our clients are abroad. So I'm actually very, very happy to come here and meet so many enthusiasts and professionals locally here. So welcome to you and also a great hi from our team. We as UXDA, even though it's only the financial industry, it's a very broad industry. So we work with, are proud to have worked with more than 70 different financial clients, from fintechs to large banks, and across 36 countries right now. And maybe 37 is coming up very, very soon. And of course, I'm very happy and proud to say that we have been globally recognized. Our mission to humanize finance it's happening, and other like different recognitions from the finance industry and also from design industry have been awarded to us, and I'm very, very proud of our team for that. So who am I into all of this? Even though it would be amazing to like go around hugging elephants all day, like that is the dream, right? It would be a dream job, at least for me, but that would probably not be in the interest of those elephants. So I believe I have the second coolest job in the world. I am an account executive and also a UX architect at UXDA. So that means that part of my job is as a UX specialist, as a UX designer. And then the other part of my job is really helping our potential clients on board on a journey with us and on board on our partnership and really show the value of what we can provide to them. So I started at UXDA and in the field of UX not that long ago, in 2019. Before that, I was working in both the private and the public sectors in different companies in like project management, community management, also startups, and also customer service and sales. So I feel like right now what I'm doing really is combining all of that into one profession. So I'm very happy about that. And outside of work, not only do I like elephants, I am also a travel hacker. So if you need a good travel deal, my contacts will be in the final slide. But also my other passion is stand-up comedy. I love everything about it, and I also do it sometimes here locally in Riga. Those are the two things that I do by night, I guess, while by day I'm a UX architect. So right now you know a bit about me. I want to know you a bit better as well. I saw many people are designers. I guess others are also like product people, right? So if I can get a show of hands of who is working, if you are like a designer or product person working in a company, like designing your own products, the company's products. Let's say like you're in company TET, you are like designing the company's products. None. Oh, yeah. You finally got what I said. Good. Okay, sorry. That was a very like difficult description for a simple question. Okay. Okay, so we had quite a few. If you're working in an agency like Chili Labs or UXDA, like providing your services to clients. Okay, around the same amount of people. Perfect. Then if you are maybe a founder, like I am my own boss type of situation, maybe freelancer. Okay, okay. Like we have the same amount of people in every group, right? Not right. And then maybe enthusiasts, people who just are here to like learn something new, design enthusiasts. None. Okay, all professionals, amazing, very good. Cool, very good to know you. So we have like, I think 1/3, 1/3, and 1/3. Perfect. Nice to meet you guys. So you know me, I know a bit about you. So let's jump in and meet another hero of our story. Who knows who this is? Usain Bolt. If you can, again, show of hands, who knows who Usain Bolt is? Like, who you have heard of him? Okay, 90% of people. Perfect. Yes, Usain Bolt is a world-renowned sprinter. Also a speaker, I think. He's doing a lot. But he's a world-renowned sprinter. He has currently the world record in sprint. 100 meters, he has been able to run it in 9.58 seconds. Phenomenal sportsman, really wide known. He has all the brand deals, everything, so he's wide known. And I think this gesture of his is something that is in most of our memories from those Olympics in 2012, 2016. So a phenomenal athlete. Another guy enters our discussion. Do you know who this is? One person knows. Can you tell his name? No. Okay. You know, but you don't want to tell. That's fine. This is the marathon. Yes. You understood from the context. You didn't know before. That's correct. That's okay. Don't remember his name. Okay, that's fine. So a couple of people like figured out or has seen him. So his name is Eliud Kipchoge. He is the world record marathon runner. He is the only person that has ever ran a marathon under 2 hours. That was under artificial circumstances, so it's not like an officially like renowned thing right now. But at the same time, he is the world record holder, and if anyone will run a marathon under 2 hours in the next few years, that will probably be him. So another phenomenal athlete, really like someone who is known with his humility and sportsmanship, really an amazing guy. So why have I been talking about both of them? These are the people from the same sport. They represent the same sport, different disciplines, but the same sport. One of them, 90% of you knew, so you know his name, you've seen him, you know, like almost everyone has seen him at least once. The other one, you didn't. Just some people were like thinking, okay, maybe I've seen him somewhere. What I want to say by this, what is my point? Sprint is a very sexy and ostentatious and amazing thing that many people find cool. And also for our attention spans, like 9.55 seconds, that's something that we can manage, right? So really, this is the sprint is something that everyone knows, everyone thinks it's interesting, and everyone watches it. While the marathon is something that not a lot of people know, because for our attention spans, 2 hours is quite a lot. It's viewed like from the outsider, it's viewed as a kind of boring sport, like you cannot really like pay attention to it for 2 hours. But everyone knows it's extremely complex. There are 100, if not 1,000 variables that come into play when someone is running a marathon. And it's absolutely like a phenomenal thing, but not really that interesting for people from the outside. So another thing, if let's say today you wanted to run a sprint, 100 meters from here to, for example, Martin Betre, you probably could. 95% of people in this audience could do that. However, if you wanted to run a marathon, that would be probably not something that you can do today, at least most of us. We would have to train for it for years. We would have to start eating well, sleeping well, finally. So that would take a lot more time and a lot more effort. How does all of this relate to design? When it comes to design, UX, so I will use those both terms interchangeably right now here, so that may happen. When it comes to design, we are also all in the same sport, right? We are all in the same sport in product design, but also in design, we are taking one or two, like choosing one or two disciplines, one or the other. The short-term UX that we like to call it is the sprinting approach. Here, the focus is quite narrow, so we are looking at design as something that solves short-term problems. So let's say right now we are at point A, we have a problem, we design, we get to point B, problem solved. So that is how we see problems. The holy grail, holy pixel is what we care about the most, because we see that really what happens on the screen is the most important thing. Priorities as well, quite different for one and the other. In short-term UX, we are really, since we are choosing to like solve that short-term problem, our priorities are also like tended towards that time frame. So let's say conversion or some immediate profit increase is usually why we design something. This is the discipline or the field where you will later see about 40% of companies are choosing that approach, and then about 5% companies are using the long-term approach. I mean, UX and design teams in those companies. So from that short-term UX, which is we needed this yesterday, to long-term UX. That's the marathon approach and what we call the long-term or the long run of UX. And even though, again, the same sport, it aims to solve completely different problems. So in that sense, we are not focusing on getting from point to B. We are focusing on the wider sense of solving business problems. Either regardless of we are working in a company setting or in an agency setting, we are solving clients' problems oftentimes. But regardless, so we are choosing to kind of go a bit outside of our field and choose to like look at that instead of doing the short-term thing. Again, different priorities. We are not looking that much on the short-term goals and the short-term like things that we have to do, the B that we had to get to, more on the consistency across our channels. So if we have several digital channels, we will make sure that all of them are consistent. Also, client loyalty and definitely adding value to the user and to the brand instead of like improving conversion for that sense. So these are the two approaches, again, to the same sport that we can take. And many of teams choose one or the other. It's quite rare that you would see that in one day you can start running a marathon if you've been sprinting until this whole time. So in actual running, the short-term approach is the sexy, the cool approach, right? Is that the same thing with design? We want to argue that no, it's not, because there is the fundamental issue with the short-term, the sprinting approach. It's that the design or the UX is kind of on the periphery of business, right? So there may be a big UX team, huge UX team, like maybe 30, 50 people, and they are sprinting, they are doing their everyday activities, they are doing user research, they are designing screens, they're everything doing, but they're on another planet. Business is on the other planet, so they are like achieving business goals. And what this means is that it's not a win-win situation. UX is really like somewhere doing something. Some business people would say they are in the conference room, like doing post-its or something, right? Not really taking it seriously. And then the business people are making business decisions, right? So design stays somewhere there. You may feel that maybe you have worked in a company like that. And as I mentioned before, about 40% of companies work in this setting. So UX is really not something that's integrated into business. That's something that maybe meets some short-term goals, but its value is not really understood by business, and it's not really something that you wouldn't see a UX specialist at the table of the board, for example, in the board meeting, right? So the decisions are made separately, and that's a problem we see, that because when we look at business data, we see that long-term UX thinking and marathon approach truly pays off. Why it's happening? So this is a report, graph from a report from Envision. So it was done by Envision, and they were surveying more than 2,000 companies with the goal to understand whether the design team is making an impact on business. And on business KPIs, so not only on the design, but also on business KPIs. So in the gray thing, you see the level 1 companies, so that's regarding UX maturity. The level 1 companies are the sprinters, who are sprinting, who are solving those short-term problems. And then the level 5 companies are the marathon runners. And it's quite interesting to see that really, even though we know that UX has quite a big return on investment, right? We know it. For some of us, maybe that's the reason we chose this field. But it really, really depends on whether you are in that level 1, if you're sprinting, or you're doing it as a long-term discipline it is. Sometimes even like several times more bigger impact is made by these marathon runners. Interestingly enough, right? Because for example, on revenue, if for the short-term UX team that's running these sprints, their impact on revenue is, even though they're, let's say, solving conversion problems all the time and kind of should be impacting revenue like directly, they're not. Only 22% of them are. But the long-term people that, or like the marathon runners who actually ask for much more investment into them, who ask for much more from the business, are making 4 times bigger impact on revenue. And the same goes for other like the KPIs of business, also time to market, even though the companies that are sprinting and like making sure the product goes out to market fast, they're not really like, impacting how fast it actually goes out. Because probably if you are just like sprinting and not seeing the big picture, the problem is that your sprint will have to be sprinted again because there will be some problems that you will occur. So as a matter of fact, you don't really get that. The business doesn't get that product out in the market faster than it would be if you are running that marathon. So this is quite an interesting thing because still 40% of companies are choosing the sprinting approach. And what's interesting is that, should we do that? Should we continue sprinting? Should we just do UX? And as you might like sense from me until now, probably the just do it thing can stay with Nike. They're doing fine with it, great with it. And then in design, probably we shouldn't be taking that approach, or at least we should be considering that maybe we should look at the bigger picture. We should look in a broader sense and maybe try to move that UX planet into the business planet, into the core of it. The question is, who can do it, right? Who has the power to do that, to merge those 2 planets? And the answer is quite clear. It's you guys. You, the designer, you, the product person, can move UX to the core of business. It's possible, and it definitely pays off, as we saw in the previous slides. So now, in the remaining minutes that we have, I want to share just practical, hopefully practical, examples and also cases from our experience working with financial companies of how and what actions we took together with our clients to move UX from the periphery, where it was just sitting on the bench doing the post-it things, right? Or in the conference room, really to the core of business and how and the impact that it provided. Let's jump in. But before we jump in, let's stop for a little bit. This is not like a 5-step plan. It couldn't be. If it was that easy, everyone would be on that longer runner path, but you cannot sprint a marathon. It's not possible. So it's not a 5-step plan. It will be a set of activities, but that most of which you already maybe are taking as a designer, you are already have done or are doing, but try to look at it in the like more broader perspective. Maybe there's something that you haven't done. But to do all of that, we have to stop. We have to close Figma or whatever. We have to stop taking our tasks from Jira or wherever. We have to stop a little bit and reflect. The first thing that we're reflecting on, throw out the idea that you're just a designer. It goes out the window. Just a designer, if you want to look at you like that, then you will stay in that periphery and not on that other planet. You as a designer can make an impact on the company's success if you want to. Of course, if you don't want to, and if you're like just doing work from 9 to 5, that's okay. But if you do want to, there are things that you can do to actually bring UX to the core of business and then provide your input in the success of that business. But first of all, no, just a designer. No way. Then the first set of activities is the uniting of teams around design, or uniting people around design in general. This is where design sprints come in. As I mentioned, I have no problem with design sprints, but they're just a part of the equation, right? A part of all of the variables that come into play when we are running that marathon. So join forces with other companies, representatives, so other teams in your company, other people in your industry, if you're like working in an agency, and see what they can bring to the table. It really, like if you are the uniter, if you are the person who is bringing all those people together, you will also be the person who can actually make that impact and can actually move your, show what importance design has. And also that comes to influencing with design. This is something that many people try to do. So let's say in many companies there are like blogs. So design does this, design does that, but it's really like a bit out of context maybe, if we are not doing it on our own like example. Because influencing with design is usually done by, this is a case study, let's say, hey, read it or read something else. But when we do influence with design, we want to show people where we are and where we could be with the help of design. So we have here we are, this is where our company or our business can be, and with design we can merge, that could be the bridge between both. And this is actually something that we do quite a lot also in agency setting with clients, is that right now they're at point A or point 0, where can they be? If not only where they will be, let's say in a year when the product is launched, but where they could be in the future and how that could bring value to users. And the third, but not the least, forget your ego. I think we as designers are quite good at that, forgetting our ego, but sometimes we forget to forget our ego. So try to do that. Listen to the people that are around you and what they're saying. It really makes a difference. It's something that you cannot run a marathon alone. You will have a trainer, you will have good shoes, you will have good nutrition, and all of that you have to understand that people who are making these things or taking care of these things, they are smarter than you. So forget your ego and try to listen to them. Now, a case from our experience where uniting around design was really the key thing. So this is an interesting example, I think, should be fine. Interesting example from our experience. This is Mighty Money app. A company, Mauritius Telecom, came to us, UXDA, quite a couple of years ago with the idea that they want to redesign their current app and create it into a super app. So they're a telecommunications company, but they have different products made for different things, and one of them was like the small payments app that you can see here, where you can make digital payments like for telecom services. So quite simple, but they had this vision that they want to create the first super app in their country, and they want to branch out to financial services. So not only stay in like the telecommunications field, but also provide innovative financial services and like compete even with banks and other financial providers in their field. So this is what they started with. And what was happening right now with this product, so it was not really like, it wasn't really fulfilling its goal, I would say, because many people were choosing to still go to the telecom shop and do the things that they could do in the app physically. So it's really not something that we could have started with, and it's not something that we see can become a super app, right? And then we started working with them and understood that we are not really designing an app. We are not even designing a super app. We are really designing a way how people from Mauritius, so Mauritians, how they will interact with financial and lifestyle services. And why uniting around design? Because as a super app, you can imagine it has a super huge amount of features. You can get a loan there, you have a rewards program, you have weather alerts, you can budget there, you can watch movies there, everything. To create that, it's not possible to do it by one design team. There were 50 people, I think more than 50 people involved in the project in different times to make that happen. And if one of them was sprinting in another direction, that would not have been possible. So uniting them together and showing that their skill sets matter was very, very important key here. And that was really what, at the end, helped not only to create a good product, but also to really make design an integral part of their vision of becoming a disruptor of financial services. So from a telecommunications company that has nothing to do with financial services to a disruptor in finance in their field. So quite a big accomplishment, and we're very happy with them, but it all came from uniting around design. So really being, in this case our team, being the uniter of them around this big vision and the long-term goal. Other set of activities, making design integral. Not gonna be a surprise for you that in a marathon we want to plan and we want to think big. As I mentioned today, if anyone of us, at least me, if I wanted to run a marathon, no way. I would pass out at maybe kilometer 7 probably. So that's not possible. And also, when we are looking at the long-term discipline of UX, it's very important to plan and think big and really understand what we are working towards. A good rule of thumb is usually you are working 80% of your time towards the big thing, and then 20% of your time on any rework. That is usually not how it happens, because we get into the rat wheel of meetings and then rework and then meetings and then buttons, adjustments, meetings, and so on. But really try to come a little bit back and plan and think really what you are doing as a designer for the business or for your industry. Also, of course, that impact, that big thing that you're doing has to be measured. So try to look at how you can set KPIs. So don't wait for your client or for your manager to set KPIs for you. Look at because you probably know best how you can measure your work, or at least you can Google it, how you can measure designers' work, because it's very important to measure that impact. If you want to make big impact, it has to be tangible, so measuring it is very, very key. And then the third one, but maybe the most important one, formalizing and creating consistency. Any, I would say, company in today, in 2023, it's important to make sure that the user or the client has access to, through all of the touch points that they have access to your business, what you're providing, the experience is consistent. Many people don't see it that valuable, but it's actually extremely key, because we as users, we don't tolerate the fact that your app is doing one thing and that the website is doing another thing. Really not happening anymore. 5 years ago, fine. Right now, not really. So really formalizing and ensuring that consistency is extremely important in our field. Another example, ITT Digital, our client, core banking solution provider. So they are from Paraguay. Interesting thing about them is that at least, first of all, core banking. This is the system that a banking employee uses to serve you. So let's say you want to get a new credit card or you want to get a loan. You come to a branch, and they, through this system previously, they provide everything for you to get that loan. So this was the good old days when there was a person from ITT Digital with that portable hard drive, and they come to the banking office and they insert that system into all of the banking office employee computers. Still that was happening. Not happening anymore, but I will talk about that later. So those are the two things that interesting about them. And they had been trying to, it's actually a system consisting of 4 different portals that you the one that you see here. And they had tried to revamp it internally, but they couldn't. And it had started to become a problem because for these banking employees, the learning curve was just crazy. They had to have months to learn this system, how to use it. Of course, that's not something that a bank would want to hear, that their employees will need to stop their work and just learn a new system for several months. And we also, through user interviews, talked to an employee of a bank that had been using it for 10 years. And she knew how to use it, but she didn't really know how to use it. Like, she was just remembering the sequence of steps and somehow like getting through it, but she really didn't like understand the solution that she had been working from 8 to 5 for 10 years. That was a big problem, and that was combined with the fact that they had this big vision of wanting to like not strap that banking employee to their desk, but allowing them to, let's say, to them to work from home. This was before the pandemic, so they were quite being innovators here, because before that, all the banking employees were working from the office, and there was really no other way, right? What happened to them? So, and why consistency is key here. So we got rid, or they got rid of that portable hard drive. It was left in early 2000s where it should be. And they became a software as a solution provider, so a cloud-based service. And I think every designer's dream, they were okay with us that we can get rid of 65% of functionality. So why I'm saying every designer's dream, we really are always like keen to save only what matters to the user, right? But not always do stakeholders or clients agree to that. But this was the case where it was possible. So 65% of functionality out. All the 4 systems that, or the 4 parts of the system that were there were combined in one journey. And so it was formalized, right? It wasn't just like a problematic thing you had to get through with hurdles. It was really formalized into one journey for those employees. And that in turn created, of course, happier users. It created a better brand. And if before design for them was really like not even important, then right now, going through all of this process of making design integral, it became the cornerstone of the whole service. So design was the reason why they could be offering that cloud-based service. Again, just an example of showing why it's important to really integrate design into the business and not leave it somewhere outside of on another planet. And the last set of activities that I want to like touch upon, you as designer can push business forward. You can drive growth. That is not easy at all, but there are some things that can go towards that goal. And first of all, of course, aligning what you are doing with the company's KPIs. So we saw before in the graph that it's not always aligned. Like, you have your goals, the business has their own goals, but try to show initiative in aligning them. If you do that, the company really, or the representatives of the company that matter, let's say executives and people that make decisions, they really understand, okay, this person is trying to like work for the whole benefit of everyone, not only like doing their own thing and not caring about that at all. Also, detecting opportunities, especially if you are working in an industry that like heavily competes on price, detecting opportunities where you can compete and be the best with design, extremely important, because there are not, like, if it's a highly price competitive industry, there are not many things that you can like branch out on, but design is definitely one of them. And also just like an addition, inspire with your success. So let's say you have done like design a good product, it has been launched to the market, the impact of it has been measured, and it's working. It's working. Do be proud of that. Because if you are inspiring with your success and inspiring of what business can do, it's more likely that the business planet will open up for you and be like okay and be like welcoming for you into that, into the whole business decision-making process, for example. And the last case study from our side, this is a platform called Private Wealth Systems. This is a wealth management platform for ultra-high net worth individuals. So the average net worth of a user of this platform, about $230 million. And these are people who drive the most luxurious cars. They are people who have sophisticated lifestyles, and they manage their wealth in this solution. So it's quite an outlier, right? It doesn't really scream sophisticated or luxury that much. And this specific company came to us with the goal that we should revamp the UI, maybe like do something with UX. So improve it a little bit to make sure that it does suit the clients, those luxurious people, and with their high needs. And again, pushing business forward was the set of activities here. And why design could do that? First of all, what we were starting to do when we were working on this project, we took a few steps back and tried to understand what exactly how these people live, right? So then we understood the environment they have around them, the luxury cars, the real estate, the art collections and wine collections and everything like that. All of those assets they had to be able to manage within a platform that previously was just database. Right now, it was something that really blends in with their lifestyle. And it's very important because if for the average user, maybe we don't see that as valuable, but if it's really like, if you see in your life something that's totally an outlier, you as a user just simply don't want to use it. So that was something that was key here in how design was pushed forward. And actually, when we achieved that goal of like making this something luxury and something valuable to that user, our client was so inspired by design that he started to inspire stakeholders of potential clients. And before that design was developed, just with like a Figma prototype, he already had doubled the next year's profit, actually. So that shows the direct impact that design can have on business results in money terms. So it's very simple. It's very complicated, but in that sense, it's very simple. So it's achievable. So I guess I hope that these 3 examples show a little bit of why it matters, right? And that it is possible for you as a designer to impact. And you are, of course, responsible for pushing that UX into the business. No one else will do it for you, never, but you are responsible for it. And if you do, business success is definitely achievable. But another thing is very important. So let's say you do all of these activities. You inspired with success, you detect opportunities, you do everything. But if you're on that other planet, why would your executives and the people that matter, or your clients, if you're in an agency setting, why would they listen to you? Do they really want to see you at that table of the board? Or do they see you still as the post-it enthusiast somewhere outside on the bench? Do they look at you in doubt, like here? Like, are you really, like, should we invest in those UX activities? Are you really, like, making a difference for the business or not? So executive buy-in, or in other words, like the trust that executives put in you to actually help the business, it's very important. Without it, you are a marathon runner who doesn't have a trainer, doesn't have the shoes, you are just alone. But with that, it's really, again, as I mentioned, it's important for them to open up that planet and let you in and make that impact. So the last thing that I want to share, 2 parts of the same coin, 2 kind of ideas of how you can hopefully get that executive buy-in as a designer. First of all, seems simple, care about your executive. So of course we are always advocates of our users. We put user as the first one, as the most important one, and it stays also here. So it's not really something that we want to forget. We also will be user advocates, but caring about the executive is something important too. Without it, it may seem for the person that is making the decisions that you don't really care about those decisions, and that's a problem. Specific tools that can help with that. We are, as designers, probably know like things that something similar to user personas or user profiles. If you want to try it, try to create stakeholder profiles as well. So individually, like, let's say this project I'm working on, can it live without that stakeholder? Can it survive? Can it maybe, is the stakeholder really like invested in it or not? What are their thoughts? What are their interests? How do they measure their success? So all those things, try to see that and try to understand how you can communicate through that. And also, of course, very important, if you have many stakeholders, do they really have a common vision? Like, is that business goal really clear to them? Maybe they are all sprinting in different directions. So try to maybe be the uniter of that vision and try to be like the person who can align all these people together to go to that success. Second one, even our manager is human, right? So they don't only have rational arguments, they also have emotional feelings and arguments. So instead of, let's say, sharing like quotes from user interviews where the user says, I don't understand anything, try to show them videos of how that user does not understand anything, because that will really like maybe foster that emotional connection. And if the executive is here and the user is somewhere there, it can bring them a bit closer together. So try to like work on that emotional part. And of course, nothing new, but very important, communication with them. So a good rule of thumb again here, talk about the impact of what you're doing right now and the risks that would come into place if you wouldn't be doing it. That's the first part of any presentation that you do with them. And then only come the methodologies, frameworks, etc. So this way they understand, okay, they care about what I care about, and then they probably will listen to you a bit better or hear you more loudly and maybe let you in that board meeting. And the second part of the same coin, care about the long-term plan. So this was already discussed a bit previously, but also very important when we are, like for anyone of us personally, if we want to do anything in our career as designers, if we want to maybe do something else, like do our own company or anything, the long-term plan is really something that we need to care about. And this is really like how you run that marathon, right? You don't think about the next kilometer, you think about the finish line and maybe beyond that finish line. And again, practical tools for this. First of all, UX knowledge transfer. If you are the creative person doing those post-it things and they work, then maybe those post-its should also be applied to other parts of the company, other processes in the company, and then these departments, let's say anyone really, can foster as well. So if what you're doing works and you know it works, try to transfer that knowledge to other people in the company or in an agency setting to your clients, so they can foster this knowledge within their team, internal teams as well. Then design-initiated goal-setting workshops. When was the last time when you initiated the setting of long-term goals instead of being put on just tasks, right? So interesting thing to think about. If you have not done it recently or ever, that's something interesting to look at, because that's really gets, again, the attention maybe and the care that the executive has about you for you to get to that core of business. And the last thing, very, very last thing, I like it a lot. It's a one more thing concept. Have you heard about it? Maybe you have, yeah. So this, it's not even a concept. It's something that Steve Jobs used to do. So whenever he was presenting, before that, let's say you have this wild idea at work, right? You have an idea that will take maybe 7 years to develop. It will, spend extreme amounts of money, extreme. You have this idea at work, and you may be hesitant to share it with others, right? Because it kind of seems foolish. But what if that idea, or some part of it, what if really that is the key for the growth of your whole company, not today, maybe in 5 years? What if this is the way how you can branch out to a completely different business line and help your company do that? And it's difficult to present it because it feels silly a bit. Why am I not doing my everyday work? Why am I thinking about these crazy things? So how to present that if you have these wild ideas sometimes, and we all do? Then the one more thing concept is interesting. In every presentation of an iPhone, a new iPhone comes out, and then Steve Jobs usually presented the iPhone. And then at the very end of the presentation, he always says, and one more thing, and that one more thing is the biggest thing. It's the most important thing, it's the coolest feature, it's everything. So also you can do that internally in your teams as well. Let's say you are presenting whatever you're doing, and then leave that one more thing. It really shows that you're kind of going beyond the problem you're solving. You're thinking about different ways of how you can win, right? Different ways of winning. But at the same time, you don't have the pressure from executives to do that right now. It's something like a bonus thing. And really this idea of how to present it, it really takes the pressure off of you, but it helps others to understand, okay, this person is thinking long term. They're not only doing the tasks for today, and this does matter for your executives. Result of all of that, really, when you are trying, if you love what you do and you are trying to move from that other planet to in the core of business, unavoidably, the result is innovation. Businesses that have UX as the core of their business, they drive innovation, they are successful, and their teams, designers in their teams are never just designers. They have thrown that concept out of the window. They are really the people who are building the next thing. And I wish that to all of you as well. If you love what you do and you want to continue doing, you want to build that big next thing, keep winning that marathon. And I hope this broadened your perspective a little bit and showed you that it is possible for all of us as designers. Thank you very much for listening to me. Yeah. My contacts here, if you have anything to discuss, LinkedIn, email, feel free. And also UXDA socials, you can find us everywhere. Feel free to use that. We have a blog section on the website where we share different methodologies and things. So yeah, happy to continue this discussion.
Thank you very much. So I think one more round of applause can do it. So let's move to the Q&A session. So we will do it like this. I have a microphone here. So you raise your hand. I bring you a microphone. You ask the question, and then we have an answer.
Perfect.
So I see the first person here. I will try to maybe give me some pass, please.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, thank you for a great speech. I got one question. You talked a lot about consistency, knowledge sharing, and working as a team, but how stakeholders, knowing that is a need in a company, how they can enforce having such practices in the company, what kind of tools and best practices would you recommend to implement that?
So from the stakeholders, how can stakeholders implement it? Yeah, that's an interesting thing because, yeah, I kind of touched upon more on what you can do as a designer or someone working in the company. But of course, any stakeholder, especially in other companies, it comes kind of from the top down, right? So they are implementing those business practices and then showing that to design teams. So it definitely works both ways. If you are a founder or if you are let's say founding a startup, or you're an executive, or you're a manager, many of those things that we talked about apply still. But of course, it's different on the sense that if we are looking at the executive, their idea of the company, so they are looking at the company goals in general. So that's their focus, right? But they can still try to move all the other departments, designers and other people, towards caring about the user, caring about the experience. Practical tools, I would say the same apply, but it's very, very interesting and good if the executives are already bought in, right? So they will organically move those practices down, and probably it will reach other company representatives as well. Sometimes there are companies where executives are extremely passionate about design, but then the teams are not. But I would say in that sense, that could be a human resource problem. So why are these people, are they really in the best place for them? Are they working in the best place? Because if they understand their value, then they will be working towards company goals. If they don't understand it or they don't want to work there, of course they won't. So I think the same things can apply, but it depends on the dynamics of it for sure.
Thank you, thank you.
Hey Santa, how are you?
Hi.
Plato here. Thank you so much for the presentation, amazing. So my question is that we all know a very famous industry quote. If I ask people what they want, they would say faster horses, Tom Ford inventing the first car. So in your process, could you please share with us a story? Did you have any cases where the stakeholder and user asked for a faster horse, but in your marathon process, you actually delivered a faster car?
all the time. 90% of the cases that is happening, of course, because in many, like most of the cases, we work in the financial industry. It's like generally an incumbent heavy industry. So banks have been working since, 1895, right? And they work in the same manner since 1895. So they are incumbents and they are like kind of going, like they are kind of modern right now, but not really. So that's an interesting, very interesting question from that sense, because in our industry, in most cases, clients come to us and they say, we have this product, we have to make it a bit better. And in many cases, they're hesitant to revamp it completely because it takes a lot of work, and in the financial industry, everything takes a lot of time, and we will be developing it in 20 years and so on. So that's something that we work on every day to show them that, no, this is something that you need and why you need it. Because in any industry, and especially in finance, right now, with the fintech space, right now, everything that's happening around financial technology in general, if you're a bank, you cannot really expect that small thing, that small sprint that you will do will really change everything for you. You cannot expect it, because while you are doing that small sprint, Revolut, everyone will be ahead of you already. So yeah, it happens all the time. That's the short answer. But also what's interesting in our industry and in our team, I would say we are coming from finance background. So if the client is asking for faster horses, we have the knowledge to tell them that the faster horses won't work. So let's say if a person was, any agency was creating a financial product, but didn't have any financial experience or anyone who understands financial products, that could be a problem because they tend to go towards the faster horses. While we have that financial background, we understand what is happening in the financial technology space, we move them towards the car, not the horses. So yeah, but it happens all the time, for sure.
Thank you.
One more question.
First of all, thank you for a great presentation. I totally agree with everything. And my question is about your use cases. Do these clients already implemented your solutions? And if yes, did you have any mistakes?
Where they implemented, yes. The first one I shared, you can find it on App Store. I don't know if it's available in Latvia right now, but it was a bit ago. So the other two as well, I think, have been fully implemented. Not sure about the last one yet, if it's the full version is out or not. Did we have mistakes? What is meant by a mistake? That's a question, because I feel like you cannot, with any process, you cannot make it perfect until it's launched, right? Until it's in the hands of users. So if the question is, did we change something after we finish the design? Absolutely, we always do. Because when users start testing it, when developers start telling us that, sorry, we cannot develop this, that, and all 100 other things, there have to be some compromises made. And we are happy to admit our mistakes, if that's, if you can even paraphrase like that, because our goal is the users, it is the user, right? It's the usability, it's how good the product is for that specific user. So it's not, for us, it's not about making it perfect just on ourselves. It's about when that user is really using it every day, does it make sense for that user? And if it doesn't in some way or another, we are happy to continue working with our clients until it does. And that's usually the case. We always work on the design, then we help the development team, then help launch the product, and then always do look at the first results, look at the first feedback that users give, and then readjust something. So yeah, for sure that happens, but we help our clients in that journey to better success. It's never going to be fully perfect. Once it is perfect, then another version should become available. So yeah.
Thank you.
I think we have a last question.
Santa, thank you very much. If I correct understand your idea, it's connect not only to application, to site also, website, yes? This idea about?
Yes, for sure.
And now we also change our corporate site, and we have in-house two designer, and we don't understand how we can evaluate in mock-up what is the impact to our future economic indicators influence this change design. And now, in the next week, we need present our new design to our board. And it's when you show photos with board, it's I understand what is my future. Yes, and how you suggest how we show this really economic impact to change situation in future.
Yeah, that's a very, very good question, because right now you have done something, you have redesigned, but right now, so how do you measure that? That's the question, right? This goes back to the alignment of KPIs. So first of all, what were you trying to achieve? Why did you design it? Was it just outdated, or maybe it wasn't converting? Maybe there were other things that come into play, probably more than one factor, right? Why you chose to design it. I would always suggest to work from that. You designed, did that meet that goal? If it did, great. In what ways did it meet that goal? Why is the new design better? So that's something that you can start with to help them understand what the impact, the change that happened. And then, depending on what you have now, so I cannot say about the industry and specific website, but regardless of what the website does, right? So let's say it's an e-commerce store, right? Have you already tested it out? Have the first people used it or not yet?
Only prototype in Figma.
Prototype. Okay, so right now you want to tell the board that yes, this is something that we want to go forward with. I would suggest to test it at least with a couple of people. We don't believe that much in the more tests are the better, but try to test it, try to record those interviews, let's say when the person is going through a specific scenario, and you can either show if it's working really, you can show that to the board, show them this is really working. Before that, we had no sales. Let's say right now the person's really knowing and can get through the process. So try to maybe do that, but also the impact on the revenue, the impact on the cost savings, that is not something that you can showcase right now. But since you have already designed it, the next step is to test it when it goes out to the market. If you are testing it and something doesn't work, try to continue working on that and definitely tell your board that you will continue working on it. And then if you do that in a bit of time, not tomorrow, maybe in a month, maybe in half a year, you will be also able to present those results of financially what happened. So it really depends, the KPIs depend on the industry, but there's, I think quite a lot of right now, you can Google them, the KPIs of design, you can see in your industry what specifically would be more maybe important than other things. Because as I mentioned, right, for example, for us, the website conversion, nothing that we don't do it at all. But at the same time, how we measure it, if a person, let's say through the app that we designed, can they go through the whole process of getting a car loan, let's say. So we measure that. You will be measuring something else. So, but that will not be today. You will be doing it a bit later. But yeah, the board, I think emotional connection is very important.
Thank you very much.
No problem.
Try
Thank you.
do some interviews with clients.
If I can help in any way, my contacts are here. So yeah.
Very beautiful presentation. I mean, color, style. It's really.
Thank you. That is not me at all. That's my team members who did that. So I did the content. They did the beauty. So as I mentioned, I'm coming here like a courier. So I'm just bringing a beautiful package. I would say it's not much work for me. It's yeah. So thanks to them. They will maybe be seeing it, so they know. Thank you for the compliment. I will hand that to them over.
Okay, thank you. I think great
Have a
performance.
copy. Thank you.